this is Jamie from Creations Misfit, and today I'm going to show you how to make a very easy and quick blanket. This is a color block blanket that I've made, but you could use a single color or two colors or 20 colors, whatever you'd like. Now, I use Bernat Blanket yarn for this, but you can use any yarn you want, any size hook. It's just going to work up quicker if you have a bulkier yarn and a larger hook. So I'm going to show you what I did today, but just keep in mind that you could use any size hook, any size yarn that you have. It's a very easy repeat stitch pattern. So this is great for beginners or somebody that wants to work something up quickly, or just doing if you want to do a mindless project where you can watch TV and keep going. So I'm putting this out there for beginners, but also for those of us who are well into the craft, but just want something simple or unique. You can do this. So I am going to be using a 10mm hook, and I'm just going to show you a swatch of this. I'm not going to make the whole blanket, but in the beginning you saw the blanket that I made recently, which was about 40 by 40 inches for a baby. And you can make any size you'd like, and I'll explain how to do that. So I'm going to use a 10mm crochet hook. And then I'm going to use Bernat Blanket yarn. This is a size 6. It's a polyester yarn. It kind of feels like chenille. And they have all different kinds of colors. Today I'll use these 3 because it's just part of my stash. And then you'll need a pair of scissors and a yarn needle to sew in your ends. So let's go ahead and get started. And if I'm going too fast for you, you can change the playback speed in your settings on YouTube. And if I'm going too slow, you can also change the speed to go quicker or slower, whatever you need. Because I'd like to accommodate everybody, but I know everybody learns at a different rate. So I will start with this teal color yarn. And I just want to show you what these stitches look like in the blanket that I already made. It's very easy. If you want them to be a little less holy, you could use a smaller crochet hook, like maybe an 8 or a 9. But I like them, I like with this yarn that it lays nicely if you use a larger hook. Because if you use a smaller hook and it gets too tight, it kind of gets a little bit more stiff. So the choice is yours. All right, so let me get this yarn started. Okay, to start out, we are going to do a slip knot. And then we're going to chain up the width of our blanket. Now I'm just going to do a little swatch today, so I'm just going to do 10 chains, but the blanket that I did for the baby blanket, I believe I did 78 chains for that one, but you'll want to measure if you're going to do a large blanket, you might have to do like 150 chains, whatever it is you want, just chain up the width of your blanket. I'm just going to do 10 here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So you'll want to pause the video and go ahead and do all of your chains that you need. And then when you're done with the length, you're going to add 2 more chains on. So if I want my length to be 10, I'm going to add 2 more at the end. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and come back when you've got all your chains ready. I'm going to move on from here. So for the very first stitch, we are going to just do a double crochet, and we're going to do it in the 3rd chain from the hook. So we're going to skip these first 2, and these are going to count as a double crochet. So we're going to skip the first 2, and we're going to go into the 3rd one and do our double crochet. And now sometimes with this blanket yarn, it's a little bit hard to see in the beginning, but once you get going, it should be really easy. And the way we're going to do this stitch, it will be real easy to find. All right, and then from there, we're going to do 1 double crochet in every stitch across. So if you remember, I did 10, and then I did my extra 2, and those extra 2 count as 1. So I should have 11 at the end, because this is going to count as 1 double crochet. All right, so I should have 11 when I get to the end. And I'm just going to do mine on camera, but you'll want to pause eventually so that you can go through and do all of yours. I'm sure that you have more than 10, unless you're doing just a very small project of some sort. So you can start working on yours with me and then pause when you need to. If you're not used to working with this yarn, don't get discouraged. It gets real easy once you get past this first round. So now for me, I want to go back and count, and it's very important that you, especially if you're a beginner, you want to count your stitches and make sure you have the same in every row. Otherwise, your blanket is going to start going up like this, like turning into a triangle or going out this way. That's something I had to learn in the beginning. I never counted stitches, and I started making all these triangle blankets, and I couldn't figure it out. So I'm going to count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then that last one, 11. So that will be my number. Okay, so for however many you chained up before you added your 2, you're going to have one more than that. If you chained 150 and then added the 2 will be your 151. All right, so go ahead and pause the video, catch up, and I'm going to move on to the next round. So from here, we are going to chain up 2, and we're going to turn our work. Now this chain 2 is going to count as our first double crochet. So remember, I have 11, and I want 11 in every row. And we are going to do double crochets from here on out, but we're not going to go into the stitch. This is going to be much easier. Normally you would go into the stitch, and like I said, with the blanket yarn, it's kind of hard to find sometimes. I would have to go in here to the top of, each stitch. But we are just going to go in between every stitch, in between the posts of every stitch. You can see here. So this first one, we want to make sure that we get into this very first hole here. And now this is going to be our first double crochet, the chain 2, and I'm going to go into this hole here and just do a regular double crochet, and that will count as my second one. And then I'm going to go into the next hole here, and that will be 3. And that's what I'm going to do all the way across. So this will be 4, 5. It's so much easier to do this because you have such a big target to hit, especially when you're first starting out, and you don't have to go directly into each stitch. So here's 6. I'm doing mine all the way across because I want to show you what it's going to look like at the end so that you don't miss anything. Here's 7, 8, 9, 10. Now remember, I need 11, so I'm going to make sure that I go in between this last one here. Now, this was our chain 2 from the first round, and remember I said that counted as a double crochet. So we need to make sure we get into that very last one. That's why it's very important to count. Otherwise, we're going to have this part hanging off the end. And when you go in here for my 11th one, it will straighten out the edge. Okay. So you can see the edges are going to match up. So I have 11 there. And this is nice too when you use a large hook because there's so much room in between the stitches for you to be able to see where you're going. All right, so for every round, this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to do a couple more with you. We're going to chain up 2. And now you can chain 3 on the end if you want, but I don't like to do 3 because then it gets kind of bulky on the end. And 2 seems to be better for me. It just adds up better. Okay, and then we're going to turn our work. So that's going to be my very first one. And I'm going to go into this very first hole right here for my second stitch. Okay, so that's 2. And then I'll go in between here for 3. And in between the next for 4. Let me just do mine across. You could be doing yours at the same time. I know you have a lot more than what I do, but we can work together for a little bit. It's really a simple pattern. It works up so quickly. I did that blanket in just, I don't know, a couple hours, I think. And I love big, bulky yarn projects because they just work so much quicker. Okay, now when you get to the end, you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I need to make sure that I get into that very last one here, which is between the chain 2 and the first double crochet, and do my last one, which is 11. And then you can see that it's lined up. Okay, so that's going to be your pattern all the way through the whole blanket. It's very simple. I'm just going to show you how to change the yarn color from here. Now, normally I would just pull through my yarn color on the very last stitch and change it, and then crochet over the pieces that are left behind. But with this yarn, because there's so much room in between, I get worried that it's going to come out. So I change my yarn a little bit differently for this. So let's change to this blue. Now I'm not going to cut my yarn. Normally I would cut here a long tail to sew in, but I'm going to pull this out since it's not really a project, and reuse this yarn. So from here, let's see, I would do a chain 1. You know what? I am going to cut this yarn because it'll just be easier to show. So just do a chain 1 and cut your yarn, cut a long tail, and pull that through. Okay? And then you'll sew this in later, and I can show you how to sew it in if you don't know. So we're going to turn our project, and we are going to attach our new yarn right into this very first stitch. Okay, and we're not going to go in between to attach the yarn. We're going to go actually into the top of the stitch. Just pull your yarn through and make a chain 2. And that will be your very first double crochet. Okay, and then we're going to go into the hole here for the second one. There's 2. And then you can leave this and you're going to sew that in as well. All right, so make sure that you're still counting your stitches because it might be a little bit confusing when you change your color. You want to make sure that you're counting that very first chain 2 as 1 stitch. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I need 11, so I want to make sure I get in between those last 2. There's 11. Okay, so you can see that and don't worry if this looks a little crazy right now. Oops, sorry. Hopefully you can see that. Once we do the next round, this will pull over and be straight here. All right, so then you'll chain up 2. I'll do this last round with you, and then I'll leave you to do your own. You chain up 2 here, and then we go in. There's our second one. 3. And hopefully you can see where I'm going in between each. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we'll get in between that last one there, 11, and see how nicely it pulls up then. Okay, and then if you want to sew in your ends, I'll just show you how to do that really quickly. Like I said, I know a lot of people already know how to do these things, but this is for beginners that I know on a few of my videos lately, I've been having some comments saying, I like your work, but you're going too quickly for a beginner. So I'm trying to accommodate everybody. So when you sew in your ends, you just want to make sure that you kind of go back and forth between stitches or just wherever you can kind of fit things in. And with this blanket, you don't need like perfect edges or anything like that. Um, I'll show you the other one, what it looks like, but just kind of go back and forth between some stitches. With the yarn, when it's like not as tight, like this one, like if you're working on a smaller project with really tiny yarn, the stitches tend to stay better, but with this, it's like I try to go in back and forth quite a bit just to make sure that it's going to stay secure. You can go up, down, go sideways. Just make sure you're sewing into the same color. All right, and then once I feel like it's pretty secure, then I kind of just go around one piece and I pull up a loop like this. And then just do a knot right there. And you don't have to do that if you feel like it's secure enough, but I just do it to make sure and pull it real tight so that it doesn't stand out. But with this bulky yarn, you won't even be able to tell. And then you can just cut your end there, okay? And you'll do the same with your piece that you started with and any color that you change. And like I said, you don't have to block this. You could do all one color, whatever you'd like, but that's how you do this blanket. Let me zoom out a little bit and pull in the blanket that I already did and just show you the edges so you can see how they all kind of line up. But it's not, I mean, they're straight, don't get me wrong, but you know, I mean, there's a little bulk here, you know, so don't worry if it's not perfect. It's okay. This blanket, nobody's ever going to lay this blanket flat out and be like, oh my gosh, the end doesn't look good or something. So it's no problem. I think my biggest takeaways with this is just make sure that you count your stitches for every single row and that's it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. If you're not subscribed to my channel, I would love if you could subscribe and leave a comment, like the video if you'd like. I would love to see how this worked out for you and if you did make this, if you're a beginner or if you're a seasoned professional, how you liked it and what else I could do to help you. I do have a lot of videos up right now, tutorials. I just released a few more in the past week, I think. So take a look at my channel, see if there's anything else. I do more than blankets. I do all kinds of different things, hats and stuffies and plushies and household items, and I just did a wine tote and all kinds of things. So take a look, and I'm happy to have you here, and I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.